Hello my lovely 10th graders, welcome back to the English literature class. Today we are going to cover 3 important lessons from Your Footprints Without Feet, and undoubtedly these are the last 3 lessons that we are going to cover, which are as follows: the necklace, Bholi, and last but not the least, the book that saved the earth. So please don't go anywhere and watch this video till the very end, because we would be covering important explanation of each lesson, extract based questions, short questions, long questions, questions from previous year question papers, sample papers, and not only this, we'll also be covering the most probable questions for the upcoming examination as well. Besides all this, we have designed a certain set of important and probable questions for you all that is available in the form of DPP in the description box through a link. So please tap the link without wasting any time and start practicing those questions from there. Alright dear students, before we proceed towards our class on these many topics, I really hope by this time everybody has scanned the code that is given on screen to join our Foundation English WhatsApp channel. That will allow you to have access to all important updates related to your board exam, because this will include your mind maps, your study material, and all important updates. Alright dear students, now let's see the topics that we are going to cover. As already discussed, we would be covering necklace, we would be covering Bholi, and we would also be covering the book that saved the earth, followed by important PYQs. Right, and towards the end of the session, we'll also have a small recapitulation of the entire session as well. All right, dear students, now you see a beautiful visual on screen that shows a necklace and 2 ladies in a shocked state. Let's know the reason of this shock through the narrative sketch that has been prepared for all of you so that you can understand the story in a simpler manner. So let's get through it. The lesson begins with the introduction of Madame Loisel, who is avaricious by nature, and she is unhappy. The reason being she has been married to a clerk, and they lived their life in poverty just because he could not earn much, right? And she had always imagined a life of luxuries and comfort that she could not get even after her marriage. So due to this particular reason, all the time she used to be angry and frustrated. So what happened once, her husband while coming home, brought an invitation card for a party at the minister's residence. So he handed over that card to her, and after just seeing the card, she again got angry and even threw it away, stating the reason that she did not have anything to wear for the party. She did not have any dress or any jewelry to wear, right? So as a result of which, her husband suggested her to buy a new dress from the money that he has already saved in order to buy a gun so that he could go on hunting with his friends, right? So he gave her 400 francs. Please remember this thing. And later suggested her to borrow a necklace from her friend, Madame Forestier, right? So Madame Loisel borrows a beautiful diamond necklace from Madame Forestier for the party. Alright dear students, then at the party, Madame Loisel is a center of attraction. She was a great success. Everybody admired her for her beauty, right? She was admired by all, but she lost the necklace on the way back home. But while they were coming from the party, right, somewhere around nearly 4 in the morning, when they were coming back home, and after reaching home, they found that the necklace was not there, right? So as a result of which, both of them got scared. They got frightened and they started looking for the necklace everywhere on the way, right? So then what happened? Madame Loisel and her husband searched for the necklace but are not able to find it. So they decided to replace it with a new one. They went to a shop and they saw a same necklace, right? Just like that of the one that she already got from Madame Forestier. Then they purchased a new one, taking loans and living in the life of poverty for 10 years at least to repay the debt. Now, in order to give the same necklace, right, so that it does not harm their reputation, it does not harm their goodwill, right? So they decided to buy that necklace, right? And the actual cost of the necklace was 36,000 francs. All right. So what happened? This Mr. Loisel, he already had 18,000 francs that he had inherited from his father. He gave them all to buy that necklace and then to clone as well for the remaining amount, right? They bought that necklace and returned the new one to Madame Forestier, right? And as a result of which, they had to live the entire life in poverty, right? Then what happened after some time? Let's see that as well. Then we come to know Madame Loisel encounters Madame Forestier after so many years, and she revealed the truth about the lost necklace and how they got it replaced with a new one and returned the same to Madame Forestier. And she also confessed that the necklace that she gave to Madame Loisel was actually a fake one. It was not original and costed really less. So listening to this, she really felt sad, right? And thought that the years that they had already spent and have been spending till this point of time in poverty was all unnecessary, right? And she should have revealed the truth to Madame Forestier. Then the story highlights the theme of the deceptive nature of appearances. It's like there are two ways in which you can understand this. First of all, she was not rich, but she pretended to be rich in the party that she was going, right? So just wearing that necklace, and even the consequences of excessive desire for material wealth. Just because she had that avaricious nature, she had that greed in order to buy those expensive things and in order to wear expensive items, which led her to her downfall. All right, let's now understand the important characters which are really important to understand while talking about this particular story, because characters sketch really play an important role here. So first of all, being Matilda Loisel, or you can say Madame Loisel, right? She was born in a modest household, but she could not enjoy her life in luxuries and comforts that she had already imagined. So, and just because she was married to a clerk also, right? So her life changed. However, when she went to a party at the residence of the minister's public instruction, who was her husband's employer, to appear rich at the party, she wore a necklace that was borrowed from Madame Forestier, right? And she was admired by all. Then what happened after the party? She lost the necklace and had to spend the rest years of her life in poverty, right? Just because she was greedy, right? And she wanted to just, live a life of luxury. All right, dear students, then she changed her outlook towards life in the meantime when she had to just, when her husband had to take loans and they had to repay those loans in a longer period of time. They kept repaying the loan at least for 10 years, right? And they had to live in poverty. She started looking dull even. And it was then when she understood the real meaning of life, when she understood the real meaning of contentment, and her outlook, her perspective towards life was totally changed by this time. She became modest and content also after that. Now let's know the character sketches of Mr. Loisel and Mrs. Forestier as well, right? We clearly got an idea that he was such a humble man and who worked as a petty clerk at the Board of Education, right? He was a humble person who tried every possible way in order to make his wife happy, right? So what he did, he had 400 francs that he had saved for going with his friends for shooting, but he gave up that idea, he gave up that plan so that his wife could be happy, so that she could buy a gown for the party, and suggested her at the same time to borrow a necklace from her friend Madame Forestier so that she looked beautiful at the party. In fact, he waited there for longer hours so that she could enjoy there, right? And he even took high interest loans as well. And his family inheritance, which was actually 18,000 francs, he used the whole amount, and besides this, he took a loan as well so that he could repay the debt that he had taken in order to just return the necklace to Madame Forestier, right? In lieu of the necklace that they had already lost by this time. Then we come to know about Madame Forestier. Jean Forestier was a friend of Matilda, or you can say Madame Loisel. She was a school friend who had enjoyed her life in luxuries and comfort, right? So what happened? Matilda would always compare her financial state with her whenever she meets her, right? And Jane lent the diamond necklace to Matilda, which Matilda wore at the ball. So talking about Madame Forestier, if we just discuss these things about her, although her character is not that much of importance, right? Unlike these two characters, Mr. Loisel and Madame Loisel, just because she has this much role to play in the story that she gave a necklace to Madame Loisel to wear for the party. And after so many years, when they both come across each other, she revealed the truth that the necklace was a fake one, right? So, but these two characters are really important. So, please go through these characters very clearly, right? Now, let's understand the summary pointers, right? This will definitely help you understand all important points related to the lesson. We have done the narrative sketch. Now, it's time for summary pointers. The Necklace is a short story by Guy de Maupassant that highlights human weaknesses such as greed, pride, right? So, they went to a shop and they came across the same necklace that costed around 36,000 francs. They bought that, right? Due to which he had to spend up his 18,000 francs that he had inherited as a family amount that he had inherited from his father, and they had to repay and had to just take a loan for the remaining amount, right? Just in order to return that necklace. Now, looking further, to replace the necklace, the Loisels borrow money and buy a new one. You already know that he was having 18,000 francs that he inherited from his family property. So, he had to spend that amount, right? And besides that, he had to take a high interest loan in order to repay the debt that they took for buying another necklace, right? For 10 long years, when her husband and she had to live in poverty, they had to spend life in poverty, and she became so dull because she has to do all the household work herself. They did not even have a maid by this time, they did not have a cook by this time. All right, dear students, so she became physically exhausted and weak. She started looking dull also. Then at the end, Matilda meets Madame Forestier and learns that the original necklace that was given to her was actually fake and did not cost much. All right, the story ends with a twist emphasizing how pride and false appearances can destroy happiness. So after many long years, when these two women come across each other, and when she was told by Madame Forestier that the necklace was actually a fake one, she really had a sense of guilt and repentance, and she thought that she should have revealed the truth about the lost necklace to Madame Forestier that time only, so that she did not have to spend those many years in poverty, which were actually very unnecessary. All right, now let's discuss the theme, which is very, very important. Thematic questions can be asked. So what the theme is all about? It's all about appearances, right? Appearance versus reality. Now on two grounds. What's that? First of all, she was not rich in real, but she wanted to look like one. She pretended to be rich at the ball, at the party, right? As she got everybody's admiration, she became the center of attraction at the party, right? Then the loss of the fortune test Matilda and her husband. She willingly gives up her comfort, right? Earlier she had cook at her place, she had maid also, right? She did not have to do much household work, right? And she used to focus more on her beauty. But by the time they had to live the life in poverty due to that lost necklace, just because they had to take a loan as well, so which make her physically and mentally exhausted, right? So the theme of sacrifice in the story turns Matilda into a sympathetic character. Just when after her meeting with Madame Forestier, she really understood the real meaning of life. She just, her perspective towards life was totally changed, and she became content after that. And there was mixed feelings in her mind, right? That she could have the guts, she could gather the courage to tell the entire episode to Madame Forestier after that. And then she felt so light also. Now, then we have the message. It teaches us that materialism and obsession. So just because the lady that we are talking about, the protagonist around which the story revolves, and her necklace, right? So these two revolves around her character. She was so obsessed with buying expensive things, all right? So it led to lifelong suffering. They had to suffer in life, they had to suffer a lot, right? So they had to spend life in poverty. Took high interest loan as well, and had to suffer throughout life, right? So it shows the irony of fate and how one small mistake can change an entire life as well. All right, so please get through these theme and message as well. Now let's proceed towards extract based questions, which are actually very important and has been asked in the most recent question paper, that is 2025. I am going to read the extract for you. He was silent, stupefied, in dismay at the sight of his wife weeping. Now, who are we talking about here? We are talking about Mr. Loisel, who tried every possible thing just in order to make his wife happy. Still she remained dissatisfied, right? So what's the matter? What's the matter? By a violent effort, she had controlled her vexation and responded in a calm voice, wiping her moist cheeks. Nothing. Only I have no dress, and consequently I cannot go to this party. And she ultimately threw that invitation card there only, right? Give your card to some colleague whose wife is better fitted out than this, right? He was grieved, he was sad, but answered, let us see, Matilda, how much would a suitable costume cost? Something that would serve for the occasions, something very simple. She reflected for some seconds, thinking of a sum that could ask for without bringing it, and immediate refused, and a frightened exclamation from the economical clerk. Now let's see the questions based on the same. The very first question, what can we infer? This is an inference-based question. Inference-based question. And let me tell you, CBSE loves to ask inferential-based and value-based questions from the stories, right? Because each and every story in one way or the other conveys some important message to all the readers out there, right? So what can we infer about Matilda's emotions and financial situation based on her husband's reaction and her response to not having a dress for the affair, right? Which affair are we talking about? The ball or the party, you can say, right? Let's see. She is disappointed for not having the right dress and the right jewelry for the party. Her husband is shocked at this reaction because he had expected the opposite, right? He does not have means to buy her a new dress. So he gave his 400 francs to her, right? So now you can imagine what a husband can do in order to just make his wife happy, right? Then the next question, which of the following is not a reason for Matilda's distress in the extract? What is the reason, right? So what is the focus here? On this word, I'll highlight it. Not. Please focus on this word. And yes, please, while you attempt these type of questions, do not be in a hurry, because if you get words like these here, pay special emphasis on this, right? She has no suitable dress for the affair. She is upset about her husband's reaction. No. She is worried about the cost of a suitable costume. The card did not bear her name. Exactly. The card did not bear her name. It was her husband's name that was mentioned there, but not hers. So this was the reason that she actually stated, first of all, and after just stating the other reasons, just like she did not have any dress or jewelry to wear, right? Now, next question. What did Matilda suggest that her husband to do with the card? She suggested her to give it to some other colleague whose wife is more beautiful than her and whose wife is more suitable for it, right? In the given extract, what is the term economic clerk? Economic means it implies one who has limited income and is just on a budget, who is just earning in order to meet the levels of subsistence, right? Hand to mouth, you really understand, right? But the one cannot spend, the one cannot make much expenditure on buying luxurious and lavish items. All right. Now, the next extract that was asked in CBSE 2022 question paper. Let's have a look. Please focus. Instead of being delighted, as her husband had hoped, she threw the invitation spitefully upon the table, murmuring. Please underline this word when you see or when you read this particular extract in your text, right? What do you suppose I want with that? Let's see the questions based on this. The invitation was to attend a wedding ceremony? No. So I hope by this time we have discussed the narrative sketch, we have discussed the pointers. So you all should be in a position to answer without even giving a second thought. All right. To attend an opera, to watch a horse race, nothing to do with it. To watch an opera? No. The last option, to attend an official dance party. Why it was official? Because it was at minister's residence. All right. Let's see another question. The husband had hoped for his wife's happy reaction. Why? Just because he had shown her that invitation card so that she could become happy, right? So, but what contrary to that, what happened? She rarely got a chance to attend a function. Most employees used to get invited. Both A and B are correct. Both A and B are incorrect. So you have these two options. Let's see. She rarely got a chance to attend a function and most employees used to get invited. What can be the reason? Can you think over it? Let's give this question to you in homework. Please post your answer whenever you watch this video. Post the answer of this particular question in the comments and then we would be discussing the same. All right, dear students. Very, very simple based on your thinking, based on your analysis now. What do you think whether these two are correct or whether both of them are incorrect, right? So I am leaving this on you. Decide it and post in the comment section and you will get our reply instantly, right? Now the next question. The lady was frustrated. Why? Because she did not have anything to wear for the party. She did not have any good dress. She did not have any jewelry to wear, right? Now, which word in the passage means the same as whispering? Now, I think by this time you clearly know why I made you underline that particular word. Let's see that. So the word is murmuring. If like say the students keep talking in the class, the teacher instructs not to murmur, not to whisper, right? Just like you make that sound as if you're discussing something in yours, right? So the word is murmuring. All right. Now, let's proceed towards important short questions which have been taken from CBSE question papers and sample question papers as well. All right. Now, let's have a look. The question was asked in CBSE 2024. Let me tell you this thing as well. Why was Madam Loisel shocked at the end of the story? Or this question can be asked in this manner as well. What is the twist at the end of the story? What was that twist? I really hope by this time you should clearly understand what is being asked and how to answer it. So what was that twist? When after so many years, when these two ladies, Madame Forestier and Madame Loisel, came across, and when they discussed about the lost necklace, and when Madame Forestier was told by Madame Loisel that they had actually lost the actual one, real one, and now they had to buy a replacement for that, to her shock, she got to know that it was actually a fake one. All right. So Loisel went into the debt, gave away everything that had, bore several hardships. They had to spend so many years in poverty, right? Later, when they meet, she come across the fact that it was actually a fake one, right? So the lost necklace was not more than 500 francs, for which they took a loan of 36,000 francs. That I have already specified you this thing. So let's try to understand it more clearly. First of all, you need to understand her husband had 400 francs, right? Mr. Loisel, which he gave to Madame Loisel. To buy a gown, beautiful gown, right? Then he had 18,000 francs, which were the amount that was inherited, right? So they had to spend that amount, and they had to, besides this, they had to take a high interest loan. Right? And had to, just in order to repay the debt, they had to spend so many years in poverty. All right, dear students. So please understand these things. And the necklace that costed them 36,000 francs, in lieu, that they purchased in lieu of the one that was actually fake, and costed around only 500 francs. All right, dear students. So please take a note of all these points. Coming to our next question, let's pay attention. How did the necklace change the life of Loisel? Exactly, it was one single object. It was that particular necklace that changed their entire life, that made them suffer in poverty for so many years, right? So the necklace completely changed their life by bringing unexpected hardships and suffering. Right? They were not supposed to bear and tolerate all those sufferings that they had to undergo because of that necklace, because of that desire to wear that necklace, right? So its loss forced him to borrow large sums of money, right? Work extras as well as a scribe also. And they had to live in poverty for so many years and had to destroy their peaceful years of living together. All right. Coming to our next question, why do you think Mr. Loisel was a loving husband? Exactly, he was a loving husband. He was a loving spouse whose only aim in life was to keep his wife happy, right? So he even puts aside his own desires. It's like he had 400 francs that he wanted to spent on shooting, right? Even though his wife, she keeps criticizing him for one reason or the other. So he used to handle all the situations in a very modest way, right? He is patient and understanding. So his character is full of patience and understanding towards his wife. Be aware that this question had been asked in CBSE 2019. So pay very close attention to all these types of questions. Now the next one, we are discussing long questions, and because this particular chapter has important thematic questions which can be asked in long question format, right? So let's have a look. A character arc is the transformation or development of a character throughout a story and refers to the changes that a character undergoes after a certain incident, right? So based on their experiences. In light of this particular chapter, trace the character arc of Madame Loisel, or you can say her full name. So basically you have to mention all character traits of her personality, right? So how she was? She was greedy, used to be frustrated all the time, wanted to enjoy luxuries, and wanted to, or you can say always desired for a good life, for a rich life, right? Now, coming to the answer, in Guy de Maupassant's The Necklace, as in light of the information that we got from this particular lesson, what do we come to know? Her character undergoes a significant transformation. Although earlier she was greedy, so you have to mention the turning point in her life after she met Madame Forestier and how her outlook changed towards life totally, right? So first of all, you need to mention how in the beginning of the story she was unhappy with her life because they had to live a modest life, right? Her husband was not earning well enough to meet her luxurious lifestyle. So she used to be frustrated all the time. But with the passage of time, when everything was over and when they had lost the necklace that was given by Madame Forestier and they had to buy a new one as a replacement. So after that particular incident, when after meeting Madame Forestier, her outlook changed and she became a modest lady. She became a contented lady towards the end of the lesson that you need to mention. So please give a please give a close look at this particular question in order to know about her character specifically. Next question. Matilda was very proud of her beauty and charm. This is quite evident after reading the story, and this led to her downfall. Just because she wanted to look the prettiest of all, right? So she was frustrated at the fact that she did not have any good dress to wear or any jewelry to wear for the party. So as a result of which she borrowed that necklace from the lady and she was the center of attraction. She became the center of attraction at the party because she was admired by all. She received everybody's compliments right there. So she was extremely proud of her beauty and charm, and this pride became the cause of her downfall actually, right? So she believed that she deserved a life of luxury and she pretended to be rich in the party, right? So which ultimately led to her downfall, right? Her desire to appear rich and elegant made her fall into that trouble. She enjoyed admiration and attention, right, and spent long hours in the party. This happiness was short-lived. Why this happiness was short-lived? Because the moment when they were about to reach home, she and her husband noticed that they had already lost the necklace by that time. Right? When the necklace was lost, her pride prevented her from admitting the truth. And it prevented her from telling the entire truth to Madame Forestier out of pride and ego also. So they decided not to share anything with Madame Forestier and to buy a new necklace as a sort of replacement and then give it to her. Alright, so please note that this question was also asked in CBSE 2023. So these are the most recent questions that have been asked in the question papers recently, right? So please pay all your attention towards these type of questions. These will clearly give you an idea like what kind of questions could be framed this time. Now, next question. Matilda wanted to live a life above her status. Although this question is related to the previous one, now you have to tell about the life that she had imagined, which is full of luxuries, right? How did this desire of hers lead to her downfall? So in one way, these two questions are relatable, right? So you have to mention the initial phase of her life, right? And how she became a modest woman towards the end of the chapter, right? So Matilda's desire to live a life above her social status became the root cause of her downfall. She wanted to look pretty, she wanted to look elegant, she wanted to look rich in the party, right? By borrowing necklace, she wore that, which she wore for the party, right? So all this made her look like a rich woman, but she was actually not. So this desire, this avarice of looking like a rich lady just, led her to her downfall, right? So to appear rich at the ball, she borrowed a diamond necklace. Again, you have to just, justify the same incident, and you have to mention the same. Like for parties, she borrowed the necklace from Madame Forestier, and how she went there, and while coming back, they lost the necklace, and how they had to buy a new one, right? Now, these are the questions which are most probable for upcoming year 2026 from this particular chapter. Let me tell you, dear students, that these questions are sure shot. Either the idea would revolve around this particular question. It's like what values are highlighted, that we should not be greedy and that we should be satisfied in whatever God has given to us, right? So how does the story warn against pride and vanity? Again, the same thing in reference to Madam Loisel, you have to explain this. What lesson does the story The Necklace teach? Is that we should be satisfied in whatever we have, right? All right. So Matilda's desire for luxury led to her downfalls. Now, in these 4 questions, you see the central idea remains the same. That is, you have to mention the necklace, right? That was borrowed from Madame Forestier. You have to mention Loisel's nature, Madame Loisel's nature, and her transformation, right? Please focus on all these pointers. Now, we are going to proceed towards another important lesson, that is Bholi. All right, dear students. So, let's know. You see a beautiful visual on screen. You see a man who is taking his daughter to school, and you see other children happily studying in a school. So let's see what is there in the lesson. Let's try to understand the story through pointers as well. Again, so Bholi is a touching story by K.A. Abbas, which talks about self-respect, education, and inner strength also. So as we are discussing this point, let me tell you a very important thing, that we have the main protagonist here, Bholi, and her actual name was Sulekha, right? They were 7 siblings. All right, please remember all these things. Out of whom there were 4 daughters of her parents, right? And 3 sons. And she was the 4th one, or you can say the youngest one, right? Then let's understand. When she was a kid, she fell from the cot. When she was just 3, all right? Her face was disfigured, right? She had pock marks on her face as well. Due to which people often made fun of her, used to mock at her, right? So let's see further. Now, proceeding towards the second point, Bholi, whose real name is Sulekha, is shy and neglected. Why she was shy and neglected? Because she was being ignored because of her poor looks, right? And because of her stammering habit, right? She is treated as a burden by her family. So she always had low confidence, and she was always frightened. Her life changed when she is sent to school, where a kind teacher encouraged her and builds her self-belief. Earlier, she was reluctant to go to school because she thought that other classmates, other girls would make fun of her. But with the passage of time, when she met such a friendly teacher, such a kind-hearted teacher who boosted her confidence, right, and who motivated her to come to school every day, and she also gave her some pictures also and some books to read, as a result of which, so that she could overcome her habits of stammering as well, right? Then education gives Bholi the courage to speak clearly and think independently. As I just told you, that the kind-hearted teacher gave her some books and some pictures so that she could overcome her habit of stammering. Her parents arranged her marriage. Then in the meantime, when some years passed, so her marriage was fixed with some well-to-do grocer whose name was Bishambar Nath. All right, then what happens when Bishambar demands dowry at the wedding? She refused to marry him. So what happened is because she did not look much attractive, as we have already told you. So while both of them, the bride and the groom, were about to exchange their garlands, so suddenly there was a woman, right, who opened her veil. So seeing Bholi, he refused to marry her. Rather, he said he put up one condition before all of them, that he would be given some extra money so that he would be ready to marry. So thinking this thing about Bishambar Nath and seeing how greedy this man was, she immediately refused to get married with him. Right? And besides this, she also said that now she will never marry again. Right? She will not marry in the future, and that she would always take care of her family, of her parents, and she would work as a teacher in the same school from where she has learned so many things. Right? So let's see this decision shocks everyone but proves Bholi's moral strength and self-respect, which came from attending schools and having a very good teacher. By rejecting the marriage, she breaks social stereotypes and asserts her dignity. How she maintained her dignity, how she asserted her dignity? By refusing to marry with such a greedy man, right? Despite the fact that he was a wealthy person, she refused to marry him on the grounds that he was very greedy and he was demanding dowry, right? So the story shows that true beauty lies in confidence and knowledge, but not in physical appearance, as we have seen in case of Bholi. All right, dear students. So you need to remember these many things, that the lesson talks about inner strength. It also talks about the hardships which Bholi had to undergo in her life, right? Due to her stammering problem, due to her physical appearance. All right. So what is the main lesson that we got from this particular lesson? That we should not judge somebody based on their appearances, isn't it? So she could gather that courage to say no to that greedy man, and she refused to marry him ultimately, and decides to live with her parents and decides to take care of her parents throughout life, and that she would work as a teacher as well, right? So coming to the theme and the message that is conveyed by the writer of the particular story. So let's see, it talks about the transformative power of education. Had she not been a learned woman, she would not have said no to that greedy man, and she would have married him and had probably lived her life in hell on. Right? So the story highlights how education builds confidence, self-awareness and independence, which is otherwise the women, if we talk about especially girls who are suppressed by the society, the patriarchal society. So it also deals with gender discrimination, social prejudice and the importance of self-respect about a lady, about a girl. What is the important message? The story conveys a very important message. What's that? True strength lies in self-belief, not physical appearance. Bholi believed in herself, right? And said no. It teaches that education enables individuals to challenge injustice done towards them, right? Then throughout Bholi's refusal to accept a dowry-based marriage, the author emphasized that self-respect and dignity are above everything in life, right? You should always make sure that your self-respect, your dignity is not compromised at any cost. All right, dear students, now extract-based questions based on the same. I'm going to read it for you. The teacher had been trained in special school for educating children with learning difficulties, right? What quality of the teacher helped Bholi the most? Her friendly attitude, her kind-heartedness, right? So the teacher's patience, kindness and encouragement helped Bholi to overcome that fear of judgment, and she started attending schools every day, right, and became a learned girl. How did the teacher change Bholi's life? She taught him confidence. She taught him confidence, right? She motivated Bholi to speak confidently, made her feel valued and helped her gain more confidence, right? So what message does this particular extract convey? It conveys a very beautiful message that your teachers have really a very powerful impact on your life, right? It shows that supportive teacher and educational can transform a weak and neglected child as well into a confident one. So what do we come to know? That a teacher plays a very valuable role in a student's life. It is the teacher who acts as a guiding light in motivating students, right, and in shaping their lives towards a better future. All right, dear students, now the next extract, and in her smiling eyes was a new confidence and new strength, right? What change is seen in Bholi at this particular stage, and which is that particular stage when she was about to exchange garlands with Bishambar Nath, a man who was much older in age than her, right? Then Bholi becomes confident, self-aware and fearless as she said no to marry such a greedy man, right? What brought this change in Bholi? Education and encouragement of her teacher. Then which value is highlighted here? Value of education that made her self-confident, that made her self-reliant and highlighted her inner strength, right? Now, next extract. What is the matter with you, Bholi? Said Bishambar angrily. Now, see, why was Bishambar angry? Because she refused to marry him. First of all, he was demanding more money as a dowry amount in order to marry her, just because the moment the veil was opened, right, the veil was removed, he immediately said no. Why? Just looking at those poke marks, and he did not find Bholi to be much attractive. So he said, I need more money, so I'll be ready to marry her then, right? Then what does this reveal about Bishambar's character? He's greedy, definitely, arrogant and materialistic. All right. Then why is Bholi's refusal important? Because it highlights her self-respect, it highlights her dignity that she considered above everything, right? Now, short questions, let's have a look now. These questions again I would say have been collected from PYQs and sample question papers. First being, why was Bholi sent to school? Because her mother thought earlier she was reluctant to send her to school, but then she thought that nobody will pay much attention towards her, and just because the mother was already concerned about their marriage, about the marriage of her daughters, so she thought that nobody is going to pay any attention. And first of all, she was worried that whether if the children will be sent to schools, so this will definitely hamper their ways of marriage. But talking about Bholi, she thought that nobody will pay any attention, and right, they were really confused. They were actually very skeptical about her marriage, like nobody will be marrying her. So as a result of which, they started sending her, right? So Bholi's teacher played a life-changing role by treating with kindness and patience. The kindness that she was not getting at home, she was not getting a good treatment at home, so she used to spend most of her time in school only, because she was being neglected by her parents as well due to her stammering habits, due to those poke marks on her face. Nobody paid much attention towards her. She encouraged Bholi to speak without fear, built her confidence and helped her overcome her stammering problem also, right? So through education, she became learned, she became dignified and she became respectable, right, towards the end of the story. Now, what kind of a man was Bishambar Nath? We have clearly come to know about him that he was greedy, he was materialistic, right? See, he was desiring of getting more and more money as a dowry from Bholi's family. So what happened then? He believed in the dowry system and insulted Bholi in front of everybody while exchanging garlands, right? His behavior showed a lack of respect for the one to whom he was getting married, and it shows that he lacked moral values also, that he was not an ethical person. Now, the next question, how did the teacher help Bholi overcome her fear and stammer? These many questions have been asked previously as well, right? And very, very important. Let's discuss each of them one by one. So, how did the teacher help Bholi overcome? By giving her books and pictures to read so that she could overcome that habit, right? Next, what changes did education bring in Bholi's personality? Although we have discussed this question, but I have designed this question on a different slide. These have been presented to you so that you may put special focus on these many questions, right? Why did Bholi refuse to marry Bishambar Nath? Because by this time she became confident, she became self-reliant and dignified, and she said no to marry this greedy man, right? What does Bholi's decision at the wedding reveal about her character? It talks about her strength. It talks about courage that she could gather in order to speak against odds that are prevalent in the society. Women, or you can say girls, who are being suppressed by the male-dominated society, right? Had she not been a learned lady, had she not been a learned girl, she would have to marry Bishambar Nath. But just because of her nature, just because of her independent nature, she said no, she refused to marry him, and she used to serve her parents throughout her life, right? So you have to focus on these many points. Now, long questions, very, very important, and value-based questions specifically from this particular lesson. Now, let's pay attention. Describe Bholi's character. Definitely, her character is very, very important. Because it will relate to message as well that is conveyed by this particular chapter. Bholi, whose real name is Sulekha, is introduced as a timid, neglected child. Why? She was underconfident. She did not have much confidence in the beginning of the lesson because she was being neglected. She was being ignored by all and people used to make fun of her. Her siblings used to make fun of her, right? So let's say due to her stammer and poor physical appearance, everybody ignored her in the family itself. It was her teacher who paid special attention towards Bholi, who treated her in a very kind-hearted manner. All right. When she's sent to school, the loving encouragement and patience of her teacher helps Bholi overcome her fear and anxiety and gain more confidence throughout. Right. So the friendliness and kind-heartedness of teacher made her self-reliant and a learned girl as well. By the end of the story, she shows remarkable courage by refusing to marry Bishambarnath, who was a greedy man, right, and decided to serve her parents throughout. Right, dear students, coming to our last long question, which is very, very important and it was asked in CBSE 2023. Let me tell you, Bholi's decision at the wedding shows her moral courage that this particular question is related to the previous one with the slight modifications in the wordings as well. So with slight modification, even if a question is being twisted, but let me remind you of this thing that the idea remains the same, right? So this question also focuses on transformation, right, of Bholi from being timid to becoming independent towards the end of the chapter. And please do not forget to mention marriage episode here. All right. Now, Bholi's decision at the wedding clearly reflects her moral courage and strong sense of self-respect. When she refused to marry that greedy man who was much older in age than her, right? So Nath demands dowry and insults her father also. So seeing this, immediately she refused to marry him. She refused to accept that marriage proposal, seeing that he was demanding more money to marry her because of her poor looks, right? Earlier she was timid and she lacked that confidence. She was submissive, right? But education made her independent. It made her self-reliant. It made her gather that strength to fight against all odds that are prevalent in the society, right? Bholi challenges a deep-rooted social evil and chooses dignity over security, right? Her bold stance shocks everyone present in the marriage, right? Everybody was shocked to see Bholi react that particular manner because nobody expected that timid girl to behave in that manner, right? So, talk about her transformation, how in the initial part of the story from being a timid one, how she became an independent lady towards the end. All right, now proceeding towards the next chapter taken from the Footprints Without Feet, let's discuss this particular story titled as The Book That Saved the Earth, which talks about a very important book that saved this planet from Martian invasion, right? So let's delve deep through the narrative sketch. The 20th century was known as the era of books. Why? Books were found in abundance and were considered to be very significant, right? Then what happened later in the 21st century, Earth, the planet Earth, faced some potential invasion from Martians in the year 2040. Now, what does it mean when we say Martians? What are these Martians referred to, right? So, these are aliens from Mars. Then, a single book played a crucial role in preventing the Martian invasion. So, there was a book that we would be reading about in the chapter further that saved the entire planet from Martian invasion, right? Think Tank, the powerful Martian commander-in-chief, attempts to invade Earth with the help of Lieutenant Iota, Sergeant Oop, and Captain Omega. He has his all staff members and he was the commander-in-chief who used to consider himself the most intellectual personality and used to think of himself as the bravest and the most intellectual of all, right? Now, let us see what happens. Think Tank consults his mirror. He keeps boasting about his intellectual nature, that he is the most intelligent one, right? Considering himself to be the most intellectually gifted being in the entire universe, that he's above all. The Martian crew arrives on Earth and is puzzled by the presence of books in a public library. Because when they were about to land on Earth, they landed in the library where they were puzzled to see so many books around them and they could not even figure out which are those objects. Some misunderstood them to be as sandwiches, or some other devices, right? So mistaking them for hats or strong barns. Some considered it to be hats as well, or some considered it to be strong barns as well, storage barns as well. Now, think tank identifies the books to be communication sandwiches, and he asked his team members, he instructed his team members to listen to them so that they can have proper communication. But to his utter surprise, he was told by his team members, Sergeant Oop, Lieutenant Iota, and Captain Omega, that these are not communication devices, these are not auditory. Rather, these are something which should be seen, which should be read, right? So the crew realizes that books are meant for visual communication, for not auditory, and not attempt to decipher the code within them. They try to read it after swallowing the capsules so that they could extract enough information from them, right? So by taking the intelligence boosting vitamins, the crew successfully decodes nursery rhyme, discovering Earth's ability to combine agriculture and mining. Then they came across a book after consuming those vitamins which gave them some extra energy. They started reading the book, and out of that, and at that particular time, they came across a rhyme that talks about Earth's ability to combine these two activities, mining and agriculture. Then think tank recognizes the significance of discovery, and earthlings can grow rare metals like silver, like even cultivate resources like cockle shells as well. And he got scared, and as a result of which, he decided to leave, he decided to spare the earth, the planet, and its earthlings as well. All right, so this is how the story ended. Now, let's have a look at the important lesson that we get from this particular chapter. Books are important for knowledge and entertainment, as we have seen in this particular story. Be respectful while correcting mistakes. Books still hold an important place in the society, in our lives. Simple books can have unexpected value. So, can you imagine the humorous note here? How nursery rhymes, specifically a poem that talks about earth activities, that talks about Earth's ability to combine agriculture and mining, played a vital role in saving the entire planet. All right, dear students, now let's have the theme on screen. The central theme of the story is the power of knowledge and human intellect, combination of intellect and knowledge, right? It emphasizes the moral wisdom, education, and philosophical thinking, which are crucial for survival on this planet and for the progress of humanity as well. Next, it also highlights the dangers of technological advancement without ethical guidance. Again, it talks about, it highlights the idea of use and misuse of scientific technology, right? Then what is the important message that is being conveyed here? Let's see. The story conveys that books, ideas, and learning are more valuable than weapons, right? So it saved that the book that saved the entire planet from Martian invasion and their weapons in their attacks as well. It teaches that intellect and moral development can save humanity from destruction. Ultimately, it stresses the importance of education and being thoughtful at the same time. So I hope this was so simple to understand, and I really hope that you don't have any doubt by this time. All right, so simple. Now, let's get through the extract based questions, like what extract questions can be framed from this particular poem, right? So there was a similar extract that was being asked with slight modifications in the questions from this particular chapter. Now, let's get through some major extract based questions which have been asked previously in the question paper, right, with slight modifications in the questions, right, and extract being similar, right? It's a television screen, they're watching us. This book is coded manual of Earth's most secret weapon, television. Oop, run for your lives, invasion. Let's see what it is all about. Why does think tank believe that book is a coded manual of a secret weapon? He misinterprets it, right? He misinterprets the nursery rhyme as military plans and believes that the book contains so many secrets, coded instructions. So he was in a misbelief that this was not a nursery rhyme, right? He found it to be a book that consisted of various secrets behind weapons and the Earth's ways to attack, right? So what does think tank reaction reveal about his character? That he was arrogant, paranoid, jumping into conclusions without even making close readings. How does this misunderstanding contribute to the story's outcome? So he misunderstands, causes him to retreat and cancel the invasion just after reading that particular rhyme, which talked about the Earth's ability to combine mining and agriculture and finding rare metals at the same time. So this made him frightened. This made this commander-in-chief think tank frightened, and he decided to spare Earth, right? Now, short questions. Today, reading books is on the decline because of the prevalence of electronic media. Exactly. This question was asked in CBSE 2025, the most recent one. Let's see how we are going to answer this. In the book that saved the earth, a simple mother goose nursery rhyme saved the entire planet from getting invaded and attacked by these Martians, right? So they misinterpreted its rhyme as a powerful secret and abandoned their invasion plans just because they got frightened, proving that even ordinary books can save lives and can have extraordinary impact. All right. So let's come to the next question. Think Tank excelled in misinterpreting and mispresenting things. Yes, definitely. He was successful in these two, right? Which led him to his failure as well, right? So this think tank arrogance and ignorance caused him to misinterpret innocent lines that were given in that rhyme book, right? So his habit of jumping to the conclusions without even giving a thought out of his fear and foolishness, leading to unexpected peace through misunderstanding. He misunderstood the words of the rhyme and got frightened, and as a result of which he decided to spare the planet, right? Now, a well-known book of nursery rhymes saved the world from a Martian invasion. Now, the whole question revolves around the book, the title. So, what we come to know from this particular question, that the title is very, very important, right? You can be asked a question, justify the title in light of the character, think tank, and how Earth was saved from their invasion, right? The Martians misunderstood the book of nursery rhyme to be full of secrets, containing dangerous secrets, thought Earth was too powerful and cancelled their invasion. Ultimately, they decided to drop their idea. Thus, the simple book saved Earth from destruction. Now, proceeding towards the long questions, let's have a look at the very first one. A satire is when a person, an idea, or an institution is criticized by highlighting their faults and weaknesses using humor. Describe how the title, the book that saved the earth, can be considered a satire with supporting examples from the text. So this question is very, very important. Let me tell you this thing, right? Now pay attention. The book that saved the earth can be considered a satire. How? Because it is a blend of humor and exaggeration. The Martians interprets books content, books rhyme, right? Especially the nursery rhymes. This creates a fear among them, right? This creates a satirical commentary on cultural misunderstanding and the dangers of jumping into conclusions without even giving a thought, right? In the end, it was a simple book of rhymes that saved the entire planet from their invasion and their attack, right? Think Tank's intelligence is being exaggerated here because he used to consider himself one of the most intellectual creatures in the entire universe, right? And the most powerful. He is even described as having large balloon brain. This is an example of satire and mockery as things have been exaggerated. So this is an example of exaggeration as well. Now, satire is a form of expression. We have described satire that we also got in the question itself, right? So please have a look at these type of questions and please be aware that these type of questions are being asked from these type of lessons only, right? Now, most probable questions. Now we proceed towards the most important section of the class. So we have presented some most probable questions for you all so that you can practice accordingly. Pride has a fall. This question was asked in the previous year question papers as well, 2022. And there are chances that this question can be asked this time as well in 2026. Pride has a fall. How would you justify? So you'll have to describe about think tank, right? Think Tank was extremely proud of his intelligence and considered himself to be one of the most intellectual personalities, creatures, you can say, right? Superior than all, including humans. But he did not even give a second thought and he misunderstood. He misinterpreted the information that was given in the nursery rhyme book, right? And gave up his idea of attacking. When he came across the Mother Goose book, he arrogantly assumed that the simple nursery rhyme were coded secrets containing weapons, destructive weapons, and that the ability of the earth to combine those two activities and how the earth could create those metals, right, which were very rare. He panicked and raised false alarms about invasion plans, which ultimately made him appear foolish. So this misunderstanding in his mind, right, that caused him to retreat, inadvertently saying saving earth. So this all that you have to mention here. Now, the next question, how did one old book of nursery rhymes, as you see that we have already discussed this type of question, similar question twice, right? But what if this sort of question is being asked in a long format? So take the idea, the Martians under the leadership of think tank decided to invade the earth. They found an old book of nursery rhyme, Mother Goose, right? Think tank misread it, he misunderstood the meaning, misinterpreted, right? And decided to give up his plan of invasion, right? Now, compare and contrast the characters of think tank and noodle. Who was think tank? He was the commander-in-chief. Right? Who was noodle? One of his team members only. Let's see. Think tank and noodles are two main characters in the chapter. So if there is a contrast-based question, these two characters can be asked in that way. Think tank is an arrogant fool ruling the planet. He is very strict and cannot hear anything against himself. He thinks that he is the most intelligent and the most powerful one in the entire universe, right? So that shows his arrogance and stupid nature as well. He has little knowledge about things. That's why he misunderstood, he misinterpreted the words that were given in rhyme, and ultimately this all led to his own downfall, right? So where on the other hand, noodle is intelligent, sensible, he knows how to react to situations, how to tackle think tank intelligently, he corrects him tactfully without even offending him, right? So what does it show? That despite the fact that he was the commander-in-chief, noodle was more sensible and more intellectual than think tank. All right, so please go through all these questions. Take a note that think tank and noodle's character are very important, right? Now, let's proceed towards recapitulation. We have covered 3 lessons today. The necklace, be it any lesson, necklace, Bholi, or the book that saved the earth, please remember the message and the theme. All right. Remember to mention the necklace, character, right? Ending as well. Talking about the next chapter, that is Bholi, we need to tell about her transformation, her character being the most important, marriage episode, and keywords. If you get any long question, please do not forget to mention these words as courage, education, self-belief, etc. Right? Now talking about the third lesson, that we have the book that saved the earth. Please mention, first of all, remember characters like think tank and noodle. The book, nursery rhyme, all right. Please do not forget to mention content of the book. And remember, in terms of this particular chapter, title justification is very, very important. All right, dear students. So by this time, I hope that everybody is able to have a clear idea of these three lessons, and let me tell you that these were the last three lessons of your textbook. By this time we have completed the entire English language and literature syllabus, so I hope you won't find any problem. And still, if you feel there is any doubt or any query, please let us know through the comment section, right? We'll definitely deal with all that. So dear students, please put in the best of your efforts and score wonderful marks in your exams. Till then, stay tuned with us for more videos like this. Have a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you so much.